This is home. Casper, your Wyoming link starts right now.
Thank you for tuning in. I'm Scott Beadle. Winter winds and fires don't mix. That's the message from the Casper Fire Department after crews recently responded to a dangerous fire. Our Caitlin Schaefer reports the department is reminding people there are steps you can take to avoid similar situations.
Saturday afternoon, both Barnett and Casper fire departments were called to the scene of a camper on fire. With winds reaching over 60 miles an hour, this fire quickly began to spread.
Crews did an excellent job of confining that fire to the area where it started. It could have been much, much worse with those very strong winds and keeping it out of spreading into a major wildland fire. I mean, even though it is February, fire prevention does not know a season around here. Not a lot of snow cover, not a lot of moisture so far in the winter that we've had.
Officer Anderson says outdoor fires, including fire pits, are not permitted on days the National Weather Service has issued those high-speed warnings that are so common in Wyoming this time of year.
On days when it's just windy like this, anyone who's lived here for more than about a day or two can tell you that the wind is a serious factor. So practicing fire safety in whatever you're doing, it doesn't take any time off during the wintertime. In fact, you should probably be more vigilant.
Anderson says the fire prevention season is year-round here in Wyoming. Caitlin Schaefer, your Wyoming Links, Casper.
Wildland and recreational fires aren't the only fire dangers to be cautious of this winter season. Vehicle accidents, like the one pictured, can cause large blazes and leave behind trails of thick, heavy smoke. Uinta County Fire and Ambulance reports Bridger Valley Fire responded to a semi-truck fire at exit 30 on Interstate 80 on Tuesday afternoon. In the video, you can see high winds blowing the fire and making it challenging for firefighters. Thankfully, no injuries were reported. As the legislature enters its final few days of deliberations, funding has still not been secured for the 988 Wyoming Suicide Hotline. Your Wyoming Link spoke with mental health experts on why more funding is needed for mental health resources in the Cowboy State.
Mental health issues, specifically suicide, is a reoccurring issue here in the Cowboy State. Today we're talking with Cheyenne locals about the importance of mental health resources and taking a look at the current funding for the 988 Suicide Hotline.
I think it's one of the most important issues that we have in our state.
Andy Somerville is the executive director of the Wyoming Association of Mental Health and Substance Abuse Centers, also known as WAMSAC. She explains why securing long-term funding for the hotline is so crucial.
If you think about a 988 crisis line, the most important time to have that is when maybe people are facing some of the worst hardships. So it's really critical that we keep that line up and going every year.
Although the 988 legislation died in committee last Friday, Andy added that there is still hope for an additional funding.
Unfortunately, the 988 legislation that had separate funding in it died last Friday. We do have an annual appropriation right now that's in the budget that was passed by the House and the Senate, and that's working its way through conference committee. We also have an outstanding House budget amendment for $40 million to put in the 988 Trust Fund that would provide sustainable long-term funding.
Andy added that the main concern is not being able to secure that long-term funding to support the hotline year-round.
What's really important, though, is the long-term sustainable funding. And the concern is that in previous years when the state has had a budget deficit, mental health services have been cut.
One individual, Sharon Elo, says more funding for mental health services will help make Cheyenne a stronger community.
Of course, I think that would be something really important. I think that sometimes people are hesitant to spend extra money on things like that. But really, the more resources that we have that can help people, the better our community can be.
The 988 Suicide Hotline can be reached any time of day, 7 days a week. William Langston, your Wyoming Link, Cheyenne.
The Wyoming State Senate has officially passed Senate File 99, which would prohibit physicians from performing procedures related to gender transitioning or reassignment to children under the age of 18. Senate File 99 has now been passed on to the House. If passed by the House, violating this law could result in a physician or healthcare provider's license being suspended or revoked if they attempt to perform gender alteration or reassignment on a minor. You can follow the status of this file by going to yourwyominglink.com. A business was burglarized and a vehicle was stolen in Natrona County, and the sheriff's office is seeking the public's help in finding anyone connected to the crime. The Natrona County Sheriff's Office reports car construction, located on the 2600 block of Curzel Lane, was burglarized on January 31st. Various tools and other items were stolen, including a Ford truck that was later recovered. If you have any information, you're asked to call that number on your screen. In honor and remembrance of Sheridan Police Officer Sergeant Nevada Krinke, who was recently killed in the line of duty, a community vigil is scheduled in Cody. According to the Cody Police Department, that vigil will take place at the Cody City Park on March 1st at 6 p.m. Police Chaplain Warren Murphy will also present a message to all who attend. Wyomingites, who are champions for the art community, will now have a new award they can show off for all their dedication and hard work. That's how we start today's trip around Wyoming. The Wyoming Arts Alliance's Executive Director, Andrew Schneider, helped create the new Wyoming Arts Champion Award that was recently given to 2 people for their advocacy of the arts. The award was given to archaeologist Sarah Sheen and public policy expert Aaron Taylor, who continue to do great work in the community. In Laramie County, the Sheriff's Office recently welcomed to the team a married couple who are retired detectives and both go by the name Deputy Lozier. They will be conducting background investigations on all applicants looking to join the agency. The Campbell County Fire Department hosted the 2024 swearing-in ceremony on Monday night. Several firefighters, engineers, captains, and chiefs took an oath to serve in their roles and were additionally pinned with a new badge reflecting their rank by someone special to them. 5th through 8th grade students from the Laramie County School District 1 had the opportunity to take part in an educational day at the Cheyenne Winter Nights event. The students had a good time learning about medieval history and even witnessed a Knights of Valor tournament. Park County families with children in pre-K to 5th grade are invited to join Park 6 teachers for a free family literacy night. That will be at the Buffalo Bill Center of the West Museum on Monday, March 18th. Light snacks will be provided. And that wraps up today's trip around Wyoming. Your midweek forecast is up next. Plus, the Pentagon is focusing on how to protect U.S. troops with the drone technology now being used in current wars. That story coming up.
This is your Wyoming Link. This is home. Now, your Wyoming Link weather for Casper. Now, your Wyoming Link weather for Casper.
Good evening. Winter this season has come in its small doses, but yesterday was the picture of winter where we had a high of only 23, a low of 5 degrees, and we brought in that snowfall at 2.1 inches, which was just shy of the record set at 2.4 inches back in 1978. But what we'll see is that we are back to some of these warming conditions, still kept a little bit of that wintry chill today, especially as we were still battling some of those high winds, and we're still going to be talking about strong winds to carry over as we head into that Thursday forecast, where the clear skies this evening, where temperatures are hovering within those low to mid 30s, we are still noting that southwesterly wind at least up to 30 miles per hour. So still some blustery conditions will continue to carry over into that Thursday forecast, but we will have the potential for again more rounds of that high wind as we head into that Friday and Saturday forecast. So we'll drop down to low temperatures just around those lower 30s, some spots into those 20s, but we will step into our last day of February with another blue sky day and temperatures on more of a warming trend into those 50s. As mentioned, though, we are going to be still battling some of those windy conditions with that warm weather across much of the Cowboy State. But what we will be watching is our next low pressure system. What we're noting is that there is what we call an atmospheric river of moisture that is pushing its way across the Pacific Northwest down through areas of the Bay Area region. And that system is going to cause for some significant snowfall in some of those mountain ranges. And that could include some of our local mountain ranges as well. We'll see that there are some winter headlines being issued by the National Weather Service in Riverton with that threat. So we'll continue to watch those concerns, as even some of the preliminary outlooks here is showing that vibrancy of mountain snowfall that is going to be adding up even through end of day Friday. Not pulling much, if any, of that over east of the divide, but there will be a chance for it into the end of the weekend forecast, just not in this early outlook. More of our early outlook is going to be about the winds and those warming temperatures. Even statewide wind gusts getting upwards of at least 25 to even 45 miles per hour will be in place. Again, it is associated with some warming temperatures here east of the divide. 30s for Yellowstone and Jackson, but when you look at east of the divide, Cody 50 degrees, Riverton 50 degrees, Casper 51, Newcastle 58 degrees, and holding on to that sunshine. So very mild forecast here Thursday, as well as carrying over those mild conditions into our Friday. Though Friday into Saturday, we will trigger another potential of a high wind event, and those high winds do come ahead of when our precipitation chances are in place. So we have another chance at some above normal temperatures to even carry over into Saturday. But then starting Saturday, there may be some hit or miss precipitation as that moisture tries to pull east of the divide. The better push of moisture is going to come into Sunday, where we'll have some snow showers with that cooler environment, and then we will work at warming those temperatures again as we head into next week.
The Pentagon taking a new look at its approach to war as Iran-backed Houthi rebels and the Ukraine war continue to cause problems. Jennifer Griffin has that story.
On Ukraine's front lines, innovative hunter-killer drone units like these are taking off-the-shelf technology to target and kill Russian troops.
These are the drones where the operator wears goggles and then flies them like a kamikaze into the target. So the unarmed drone would first find it, and then they would send up the fast racer to go and actually strike it.
The Pentagon is taking notice.
We learned when somebody's back is up against the wall, they come up with a lot of creative solutions. And if they don't have a lot of money, like Ukraine doesn't, they can figure it out.
Ukraine's army repurposed an American Patriot missile battery, typically a defensive weapon, to bring down 5 Russian warplanes last May, according to U.S. and Ukrainian officials. U.S. Army Chief General Randy George recently visited the Army's premier training facility at Fort Johnson, Louisiana, where U.S. troops are already applying lessons from Ukraine. American soldiers are learning to protect their digital footprint, their iPhones, which can give away their locations and get them killed, while also figuring out how to defend themselves from drone attacks like those U.S. troops are facing in Iraq and Syria. In Ukraine, small off-the-shelf quadcopter drones have transformed the battlefield, locating targets for larger conventional weapons like artillery. General James Hecker, who oversees all U.S. air forces in Europe, says the lessons from Ukraine are helping the U.S. military prepare for the Pacific.
We need to think about that to protect ourselves against that threat that's going to come in swarms. What the Houthis did, what Russia's doing is nothing compared to what we're going to see.
The new supplemental funding bill awaiting a vote in Congress has $560 million allocated for counter-drone technology for the U.S. military, based on what the Pentagon has learned from Ukraine. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Winter blues got you feeling down? Well, with spring break around the corner, many people getting stoked for some fun in the sun. But if your heart is set on heading to Mexico for a vacation, the State Department says there are a number of safety concerns you need to be aware of. Ted Lindner takes a closer look.
Calling all spring breakers. If you're planning an upcoming vacation, the State Department is warning would-be travelers heading to Mexico to practice caution.
We see them as tourists. The drug cartels see them as either potential customers or potential victims.
Officials advising Americans to be vigilant of their surroundings, citing the dangers of crime, drugs, sexual assault, and more.
This is something that's happening throughout Mexico right now, and it's all because of the drug trafficking. The drug traffickers are fighting each other over territory. Got all these TikTok influencers that are putting themselves on TikTok, showing how much fun they're having in Tulum and Cancun and all these areas down there.
And that's helping to fuel interest among people who have never traveled there before.
That caught the attention of the drug dealers and the drug traffickers. Multiple cartels have people in place selling drugs to the tourists.
The State Department recommends spring breakers monitor their bank accounts for theft, guard passports, and travel in groups, especially at night. Officials also say it's critical people drink responsibly, as drunk and disorderly behavior is illegal in Mexico and could result in jail time or worse.
You have a guy in a bar that gets in a bar fight with a group of guys that's in the drug trade or is family or friends of someone in the drug trade. They make a call. That guy walks outside. They grab him and make him disappear.
Ted Lindner, Fox News.
Up next, why small businesses in Las Vegas are rallying together to sue Formula One. We'll be right back. Recent polls show both President Biden and Donald Trump are struggling in popularity. This could now open the door for a third-party candidate to shake things up in November. Mark Meredith explains.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says voters are fed up with America's two-party system and are embracing outside candidates like himself.
There's a lot worse things than dying, and one of those is being a slave. And
today, a Kennedy-aligned super PAC announced it's collected enough signatures to qualify the 70-year-old on the ballot in battleground states Georgia and Arizona. If approved by state election officials, Kennedy may soon be on the ballot in at least 5 states and potentially dozens more later. But Democrats appear concerned. The DNC filing a complaint with the Federal Election Commission accusing Kennedy of working hand in hand with the PAC boosting his campaign.
It is federal law that they've chosen to ignore.
Kennedy's campaign calls it, quote, a non-issue. It's unclear if the FEC will act. The feud comes amid concerns third-party candidates may impact both major party strategies, especially in battleground states like Wisconsin, Arizona, and Georgia, where the 2020 race was decided by less than a percentage point. Cornel West, who left the Green Party last year, is now running as an independent, says he's ready to compete.
We're going to shake up the world. Michigan, Arizona, we're going to try to get on the state in Texas and California.
Nikki Haley, who's still seeking the Republican Party's nomination, says she's not interested in the group No Label's efforts to recruit her as a unity candidate for November.
I have not spoken with anyone about anything other than running as a Republican. I have not talked to anyone. I have not put time into that.
No Label says by late March it hopes to make a decision on whether it will launch a ticket for November. The group says it's actively talking to multiple potential candidates, no names yet, but No Label says it already has qualified for the ballot in 16 states. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
Formula One related construction in Las Vegas reportedly hurt multiple small businesses in the area. Now those places are planning to sue. Jacqueline Schultz has more on that story.
And if we have another year like this, none of us will be in business. We all kind of got bamboozled.
Randy Markin of Batista's and Stage Door tells me Monday he has tried to be a nice guy, and he's tried everything for a better outcome in meetings with Formula One and the LVCVA. He's part of a group of businesses at the corner of Flamingo Road and Koval demanding compensation for millions in losses during road construction, closures, and lane closures. He says he is sad about the next step because he loves Las Vegas. Preparations to sue.
The community and citizens should know we did everything we could to try to settle without, legal action, but they haven't really given us any choice. They think they're in the driver's seat, and this is, that they're the big guys.
Lisa Mayoda Rizzo represents the 7 businesses, which include Batista's and Stage Door, Jay's Market, the Souvenir Shop, and Ellis Island. She has gone before the Clark County Commission and LVCVA with public requests for a remedy. Now, a lawsuit would name the Formula One race, the LVCVA, and Clark County demanding compensation and fighting to block the return of the temporary F1 bridge. F1 recently told Fox 5. A temporary bridge would return and the race would work to lessen impacts on businesses. Mayoda Rizzo says she'd like more businesses to come forward to join them. She says plenty already have.
2 people today call me and say, I'm in. I lost my business.
Do you think this suit has a chance to win?
Every single business and so forth had a right to that public right of way, and it was shut off and taken from you. I think they have a chance.
We'll be back with more in just a moment. Newborn babies with the same birthday as a popular children's writer could get a free book. Dr. Seuss Enterprises says it'll give away 10,000 copies of Cat in the Hat to families with a baby born this Saturday to celebrate the author's 120th birthday. Each copy will include a personal message to each child. The company says the giveaway is part of Seuss's mission to provide easy access to books and literacy programs for all kids. Parents will have 90 days to claim the book by submitting contact information and proof of the baby's birth date to the Dr. Seuss Enterprises website. And that is the news for today, everybody. I'm Harriet Wallace. It was great spending time with you. We'll see you back here tomorrow.